To go live?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening. If you can hear me, just send a wave. Make sure that our side is properly hooked up. Keep catch Cheserek. I see you. Thank you for joining. Imarilia Imari Alia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thank you for joining. Aswito, Karibu, Wadzanai Chambara. I see you. Atahau Kivuna, Bill Tate, Abu Alia, Muska. I see you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Pole tumechelewa kiasi kuwa live, but better late than never. It's now 7:04 p.m. Today is Thursday, the 21st of September, 2023. What a blessing to be alive and well, and be able to have this weekly live event. As always, my name is Solomon Wangwe. I am the founder and managing director of Goshen Acquisitions Limited, as well as its wholly owned subsidiary Grand Acres Limited, which are Kenya's most transparent and number one land selling companies. Anyone who tells you different doesn't know what they're talking about. So, welcome you all to today's live event, where you get to send in your questions, comments, commentary, anything that you want to talk about in the real estate space. If you're looking to buy land, dealing with an issue, we've been doing this for almost 12 years, so we know a thing or two about how to do it well, safely, here in Kenya. So feel free to share. We'll be happy to answer your questions. And when we don't know, we will tell you so and find out for you and get you the right feedback. Okay. There'll be many others who are learning as well as we answer your questions. Others will be getting insights from your questions. And probably others will be encouraged to share about their situations, positive or negative, and we can have a uplifting conversation for the next hour or so. All right, so it's now 7:05 p.m. Send this link, invite those you like and love, only good vibes, as always, who might be interested in this area, real estate investing here in Kenya. Make sure you subscribe, like, check us out on all our social media platforms. We're live right now on Instagram as well as TikTok. I believe we're also live on Facebook, Twitter, and a couple of other platforms. So share the link to as many as you think will be blessed by this content, will be edified, will learn something, and let's have a good time. It's a rainy day or rainy night here in Nairobi, Kenya. If you happen to be tuning in or joining from outside of Kenya, please let us know what city you're in, city and country. We love to know where all our community are, and let's have a blast. Okay. As always, I have a team, support team in the background. You can't see them. They are critical to the success of this live events. Gladys is our resident DJ today, and Coco, who is gone to collect our dinner, because we do film from the office. It's rather late, so we like to get some chow before everyone goes back home, because of the time and also because of those of us who are watching from the diaspora. So let's get this party started, guys. I'm ready for your questions. Steve-O, what's up, Steve-O? I see you watching from Sacramento, California, US. Thanks for tuning in, Steve-O. Always a pleasure to see you on our lives. I've known Steve-O for some time. actually quite a while. I met Steve-O in college, 1999. Was it 98? Yeah. 1999 is when I met Mr. Steve-O Owiro. Stephen Owiro, Kenyan living in the US for a long time. Uh, I'm always encouraged when I see people I know on these live events. So thanks for saying hello, Steve-O. Um, Send in your questions, guys, and let's get started. It's 8 minutes past 7. We like to uh, be strict with time because everyone has interesting things to do with their evenings if you're in Kenya or with your time wherever on the globe that you're tuning in. We want to make sure that this time is productive for you. So please send in your questions. While I wait for your questions to come in, thought maybe I should share. I happened to spend the morning today attending a seminar for business people, business leaders, hosted by a gentleman known as Julian Kula, who is the lead pastor, or I should say Reverend Reverend Julian Kula. I always forget to call him Rev because I've known Julian since high school. Um, Reminder of just how old we are. Uh, and it was such an uplifting session. We had amazing speakers. Vusi Tembekwayo from SA joined us. A gentleman called Grace Lubega from Uganda was there. Amazing conversations. This is part of a week-long um, conference called the Rema Feast. For those of you who are in Nairobi, Kenya, and want to be edified and uplifted and get a word for the season, please feel free to check it out. I think tomorrow might be the last day. I'm going to be back there tomorrow morning for the business seminar as well. Bumped into Mr. George Washuri while I was there of Optiven, had a nice chat, as well as a bunch of other personalities, people I admire, like, follow, criticize even sometimes. Um, I thought I would share that, especially for those of you who are here locally, have an opportunity to attend it live, please do so. If you're not here, obviously you can tune in on Facebook. They do stream all the sessions live. They're actually still streaming now because they have evening sessions. Amazing, amazing teachings for those of you who are so inclined. Meditating, relaxing. Hello, Solomon. Thank you for always educating us. Whatever happened to the land you scouted in Nanyuki? Anything new in that territory? Wow, meditating. You definitely watch our Grand King of Scoutland videos. I even forgot that we did one for Nanyuki. Well, that is still being negotiated with the landowner, to be honest, which is why we call it the land scouting. Obviously you scout for land before you buy it. Make sure that you like the location, like the ambience, like the feel, the energy of the place before you risk your capital. So we filmed that and shared it with you, just to give you an insight as to how we go about finding new opportunities. So that has still not yet been closed. Which is why we haven't said anything about it, and also why we segmented that content to land scouting, because just because you scout for land doesn't mean that you're going to buy it. You might not like the place, documents might not check out, you may not like the seller may not like you. You may even find everything is okay, start the process, and not close for one reason or the other. So stay tuned. We have an amazing story to tell as far as what happened in Nanyuki. I guess you call that season 2 of Grand King of Scotland. we actually closed on an amazing property, the most prime one we have ever acquired in the 12 years we've been buying and selling land in Nanyuki. And that is not an exaggeration by any stretch. That's a serious statement for me to make. So stay tuned. We'll be sharing more details. We have acquired an amazing block of land. It's now registered to Goshen Acquisitions already. So we'll share the content on that and update you guys on what else is coming up in Nanyuki. So that's what's new in that territory. I can't tell you more. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too early because we do have a process that we must follow. And particularly regarding new opportunities, we like to let our existing customer base, those who've bought something from us before, hear all the details before we go to the wider market, just to honor their trust and patronage of our vision, our passion, our calling, which is why I can't say anything more on this session today. But stay tuned, meditating, relaxing, coming up soon. Okay, Abdi Haile on TikTok. Thank you for tuning in, Abdi. Your comment reads as follows: Can you own freehold property through a company as a foreigner with a Kenyan director? The answer is no, Abdi. I know it's a strategy many people tell you you can employ as a foreigner to own freehold property in Kenya. There is absolutely no wiggle room. There are no loopholes. Don't let anyone lie to you. So if I take the example you just shared, say you're a foreigner, you buy the land through a company, okay? And it has a Kenyan director. You have to remember that a director is not necessarily a shareholder. Those are two different offices. When you register that company, you have to declare who the shareholder is. Whether it's a company or an individual, doesn't matter. As well as a director. If not more than one, you have to name at least one. Today in Kenya, thanks to COVID, which forced our government to fast track the implementation of certain amendments to the Companies Act, which allowed for single directorship. Single directorship businesses, that wasn't always possible. When we registered Goshen Acquisitions Limited, you had to have at least two directors to countersign against each other. Today, that is not a requirement. You can have a single directorship business, which is great, by the way. But the shareholder must be Kenyan. And you can't have a business that doesn't have a shareholder. The moment the shareholder is a foreigner, no matter how small their shareholding is, that company immediately is disqualified from ownership of freehold land in Kenya, immediately. So there's no loopholes. Now, if you as a foreigner is going to assign all the shares to the Kenyan director so that the shareholding is fully Kenyan and the Kenyan director is signing on documents, well and good. But that means you as a foreigner, on record, do not own the land at all. So you'd have to have an abnormally, I should say, supernaturally large trust element with that Kenyan individual that you've appointed as a director / shareholder on your behalf to risk capital and buy land that is going to be owned by the company that they own and run. Okay? Poor way to own land, extremely risky. If that person goes against your deal, your gentleman's agreement, as it were, you have no recourse whatsoever. They can take loans against that property, they can sell it off, they can do whatever they want without any reference to you. Because the only thing that counts is their signature on documents as a director, and they are 100% shareholder. You have no standing whatsoever. I would not buy land in Kenya that way at all. I don't recommend that it be done. And so that's a long answer to your question. Abdi, no, you can't do it. Okay, Abdi says, what if I give the director shares, but he's not a majority shareholder? Okay, still doesn't matter. Who is the majority shareholder? I know where you're going with this, Abdi. We've had these conversations with so many people over the last, I'd say maybe 10 years, 8 to 10 years. If you're going to give majority shareholding to a foreigner to protect your ownership interests, that company immediately is not legible for ownership of freehold property. It doesn't matter how many ways you slice that cake, Abdi. It's not. It's just not possible. Okay, so best thing to do is get the seller of the property to convert the land from freehold to leasehold, and you can own it without issue, without ever needing a Kenyan director or shareholder to hold it for you in trust. You can own it directly, 100%, make all the decisions, enjoy its benefits fully as a duly registered owner of beneficial interests. If in doubt, pay a visit to a licensed advocate. They will counsel you accordingly. Make sure they are licensed, make sure they have competence around commercial law, because not all lawyers were made equal. Work with the one who specializes in that field and they'll guide you appropriately. Okay? Thank you for that question, Abdi. Teddy Okumu, thank you for watching from Facebook. We see you. Hey, Washu, there she is. I was wondering where Washu was. Thank you for watching, Washu. What's up, Coco?
What's up?
You look like you have a question.
No, like what is happening?
Yeah, we're waiting for people to send in their questions. Maybe it's because it's a rainy night in Kenya.
Yeah.
People are all snuggled up and enjoying their evening.
Well, guys haven't gotten home on time.
Yeah, actually, I was late because I was stuck in traffic. I had to make a U turn and use a different route, and barely made it. Barely. Yeah. So if you're in traffic, no worries. Be safe. Don't be on the phone while you drive. Uh, as much as we like to have you on here, it's not it's not worth risking your well-being. Get home safe and tune in if you can before we're done. Okay. Kabare. I think okay, that's a different Kabare. I thought I knew that face. What's up, Kabare? Thank you for joining. Eve Sunguti, Karibu. Tina T. Njoroge and Haron Makoha. I see you guys. Thank you for joining. You must have questions, guys. Send in your questions. If you don't have questions, you might have a comment, or maybe you have a story you might be willing to share about your real estate investment experience, good or bad. Doesn't matter. We will learn something, be encouraged, or be more cautious on our own journeys. Feel free to interact. And like I said before, make sure you share this with people you like and love that are interested in ownership of property in Kenya. Don't send to people you don't like or people who don't like you. Good vibes only. Boy, I'm seeing some crazy comments on TikTok. Let's keep it respectful, guys and girls. At this rate, you and Gladys will need to ask questions, Coco.
Okay. Hmm.
Maybe I can share something interesting happened today
Mm-hmm.
or news, recent developments in the real estate space. So, as you know, Kajiado County just released a new integrated county spatial plan, a CSP, integrated county spatial, as in space, spatial plan. Kajiado County is one of the few counties that's done this. Um, and they are now requiring everyone who sold land in Kajiado County going as far back as 2019
Mm-hmm.
to pay backdated land rates for all those plots of land.
What?
Yeah, it's heavy. Yeah, they've sent out official letters from the county treasury. Uh, some people are getting bills in the tens of millions. It's bananas. So interesting development. We'll see how that goes.
Mm.
So if you are in the business of subdividing land like we are, be aware. Don't get caught flat-footed. Um, get informed, engage, have conversations, check out the county office, know what your status is. Okay.
What happens if to the people who will be unable to pay or will just choose to ignore?
Yeah, so I mean, like bank loans, if you're unable to pay your county taxes, the county can foreclose on you. It can auction off your property to
And
recover their tax.
is this something that could have been avoided, and how?
Um, Not really. I mean, what really is happening is that the county is exercising its executive authority to collect revenue from within its boundaries.
Yeah.
The delayed action notwithstanding, uh, they do have that authority
Mm.
and they're exercising it. Now, the challenge here, I think, is number one, they're backdating. They're making this new policy retroactive.
Mm.
So there's issues about how fair that is to the general public who are not prepared.
Mm.
And then also there's a question of whether or not they should be charging rates on properties that are still freehold.
Mm.
It's been an ongoing debate. We ourselves have been forced to pay rates on freehold land within counties because the county demands, and you can't proceed unless you get the clearance certificate from the county. So interesting developments. That chapter is still being written. Let's see where it ends up. But I do commend the county for. Kajiado County has been very proactive about trying to bring order into
Yeah.
the whole real estate land subdivision space. We may have issues about some of the things they do to go about it, but hey, at least they're engaging.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, it'll force all the stakeholders to get together, get their heads together, and figure a sustainable solution on the way forward. So let's wait and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a question or I can ask?
I saw a question from Washu.
Mm.
Let's save yours for when people are still typing. Okay, Washu says, what are you doing about flooding? This is about Rustling Dawn. Apparently, Lake Nakuru flooded. I'm not sure there's anything anyone can do about flooding, Washu. Okay, first of all, Rustling Dawn is nowhere near Nakuru or Lake Nakuru. It's closer to Lake Naivasha. As you know, Washu is a native of Nakuru, so she knows what she's talking about. The best thing you can do around flooding is make sure that you plan your infrastructure well, drainage and that sort of thing, waste water, storm water drainage and that sort of thing, which we have done at Olkekun very expertly, I might add. This was designed by BNL Engineering, one of the leading, in fact, probably the leading civil works and engineering company in the country. So we're sorted as far as Rustling Dawn. Rustling Dawn is Elementator. Apologies, I'm confusing Rustling Dawn with Olkekun. So Rustling Dawn, for context, is our project right on the frontage of Lake Elementaita. Okay, that is closer to Nakuru. Lake Elementaita sits right smack in between Lake Naivasha and Lake Nakuru. It's the smallest of the three lakes. We haven't experienced any flooding at Lake Elementaita. We rarely do, at least not on our side, Washu. As you know, we are on the inclined side of Lake Elementaita from the highway going down. Very, very decent grading. So unlikely there will ever be flooding on that side of the lake. The side that typically has perennial issues with flooding is a side right next to Soisambu, because that is flat and lays, in some instances, slightly lower in altitude than the actual lake. So those guys perennially, I know people whose beacons get flooded and they can't access their land on that side quite frequently. In fact, there's been debate about lands on that side having been hived off from pre-existing floodplains that nobody owned, but the government of Kenya facilitated titling there way back when it was dry. In fact, at some point there used to be safari rally tracks that went across the lake. But over time, the lake has reclaimed that side. And you'll understand why when you visit the site, because of the low-lying nature of that site. There's not much people can do besides respect uh, the water's boundaries. You cannot fight floods unless you're willing to take extreme measures like the Dutch did, and build dikes and that sort of thing. You require all manner of approvals. And because Rustling Dawn at the frontage of Elementaita is within a UNESCO World Heritage Site, it's even that much more extra sensitive. You can't do things that interfere with the natural state of the ecology there. So, again, Rustling Dawn, fully master planned, will have provision for stormwater drainage, but we have a very nice incline um, that will sort out issues around flooding on the site. And we have plenty of buffer between our land and the water's edge, as prescribed by the Water Resource Management Authority, as well as the KWS. So we're good at Rustling Dawn, Washu, no worries there. With Grand Acres, you never need to worry about stuff like that because we do look into that before we buy land. The last thing we want to deal with is our buyers' uh, remorse because we overlooked something as critical as environmental uh, policies that prevent such things. What's happening at Lake Nakuru has been predicted. In fact, has happened once or twice already before. It seems to be getting worse. We wait to see how that goes, but no issues at Elementaita yet. And even so, we're sorted, Washu. Anything short of Noah's flood, acts of God, as insurance industries call them, we're covered. Okay. Eve Sunguti on Instagram. Hey, Eve, thank you for watching. Eve has a story. She says she'll make it short, and I'll read it. So Eve says, in the quote, "We jumped on the farm from your couch bandwagon, in 2017. We're still in court. The land is in Kajiado. Recent development is one remaining director is willing to reallocate. What's your advice on this?" Okay. Farm from your couch bandwagon. I'm so sorry, Eve Sunguti. There was a period of time when a lot of us land sellers were selling, a 50 by 100 with a greenhouse. They'll manage the farming, sell the produce, and share the revenue with you. That type of deal. A lot of them went south because the economics around that model were not thought out fully because no one actually went through the full cycle long enough to make keepable promises to the buyers. And so I am aware that many are still in court. So you're saying that recent development is one remaining director is willing to reallocate. What's your advice on this? I think as long as the reallocation site is to your liking, absolutely, it's better than fighting it out in court for who knows how long. Because I presume you're paying lawyers, advocates fees for being in court on your behalf and that sort of thing. It's always a good idea to cut your losses early. Stop the bleeding is a terminology we use. If the director is willing to reallocate you, that's great. Just make sure that where he's reallocating you is also okay. Okay, do your due diligence on that site the same way you would as if you were buying it for the first time. Don't just take it because they're willing to reallocate you. Um, and as long as you like it, I think it's fine. Value for value, then you'd have to decide, is it worth what you paid for the other one in terms of a reallocation. Professional valuations might need to be done in that regard. That's your call to make. So yeah, I mean, if they're willing, that's good. If you like the place, do it, cut your losses, and move on. Don't give up. Problems happen. I know you've learned many good lessons from this experience. It only makes you stronger as an investor for the future. So that's my take, Eve, and I wish you guys all the best. Thank you for sharing that story. Ricky G on TikTok. What's up, Ricky? Thank you for tuning in. Does buying property fall under expenditure tax wise? Expenditure. Okay, that's a very interesting question, Ricky. Um, it depends. It depends. Why? Because um, tax treatment would depend on who is claiming expenditure. This is the primary reason many of us do what we do as companies and not as individuals. Okay, because as a company, duly registered, even with KRA's tax classifications as a property dealer, real estate company, there is rationale behind them allowing all the funds we use to buy land as expense as opposed to investment. Okay, so just to refine that further, second part of your question is, I mean, I use my income to buy property. Is that part of expenditure? No, that is considered an investment, especially if you're doing it as an individual. It's an investment, which means the property you've bought is an asset, not inventory. Okay, unless you're in the habit of buying and selling regularly, you might make a case to the taxman that it is inventory and not an asset for investment. Because if it's an asset, you cannot expense it. You can't claim tax relief based on your purchase of that land. Okay, it's just booked as an asset. And if you're gonna do this repeatedly, like we do, then you're better off doing it as a limited company. It's why companies exist. There's tax structures that can be used for tax planning purposes that make it a lot more efficient. For us, for instance, everything we buy as Goshen acquisitions is inventory because we are in the business of buying and selling. There's track records to show that, to demonstrate that. The evidence is there. Even how you finance it matters. Are you borrowing money? Are you raising money from others? That sort of thing. Is it your own income, savings that you're using? All that matters. At the end of the day, Ricky, I strongly recommend you have a chat with a tax attorney or a tax specialist, someone from an accounting firm. There's many good ones in Kenya. Seek out advice. If you want some recommendations on who to reach out to, just ping us on WhatsApp. The number is 07 0001 Again, that's 07 0001 and we'll send you a couple of contacts that you can talk to. Get your tax advice um, early, because when some triggers have been pulled, you can't undo them, right? But great question. Thank you for that, Ricky G. I almost read that as Ricky G. I was like, the deputy president is asking a question.
Yeah.
Noel Gisharu on TikTok. Hi, Noel. Comment on Kimana Kuku B land kindly, if you have any info on the same. Noel, I do not have any info on the Kuku B land in Kimana at the moment. Um, Perhaps we can have a chat offline. You can brief me, and I can find out from my contacts on that side. We haven't bought or sold anything in Kimana. The closest we've gotten to Kimana is Imbuko, which is, I believe, about 40 kilometers or so before Kimana. Um, and I'll be happy to share my 2 cents. Jitesh Vekaria, greetings, Jitesh. Thank you for your comment. What is the validity of a sale agreement? I bought an apartment 12 years back, but the developer is yet to give us our lease certificate. What action could you advise, sir? Yes, your sale agreement is extremely important. I just hope that the terms you signed off on that sale agreement support your claim. Okay. Another reason you want to make sure you work with the best of the best when you're coming up with legal agreements, sale agreements, and that sort of thing. So, yes, if you have one that was signed by both parties, especially if it was franked at RD House or stamped, even better. Otherwise, it's not admissible in court if you end up in court. Make sure it's stamped or franked, okay? Hopefully, there was more than one copy that you signed. Maybe a lawyer has a counter copy and that sort of thing, an original, and you can get those franked or stamped. But they are valid if you have one. Secondly, there could be all sorts of good reasons why the developer has yet to give you your lease certificate. There's been issues in RD House around the issuance of new leases periodically. So depending on the timelines, there could be reason. What did your sale agreement say about that? Because that's part of your completion documents. Okay, they should have been listed in your completion documents on your sale agreement. If they weren't, what should you do going forward? Please, seek the counsel of a licensed advocate to help you, Jitesh. They will interrogate your sale agreement, look at the circumstances, and advise you accordingly on how best to engage the developer. Hopefully, settle this without having to force them to go to court, which would be your final option, particularly because you have a sale agreement. Okay. I'm sorry you've had to deal with that, but it's not uncommon, particularly with lease certificates. So just get the right advice from a legal practitioner, and I think you should be okay. Thank you for that question, Jitesh. Okay, we have a question from Twitter. Can control development still continue using the plan approved on the mother title even after titles are issued for subdivided land? I would not think so. I think if the title deed has been to the mother title has been subdivided, depending on whether or not change of use was done before the subdivision, you cannot use the terms or the special conditions for the controlled development. Ideally, it's a certificate of lease, which would list the special conditions for the use of the land in terms of the plinth areas, any setbacks required, the use, is it residential, is it commercial, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so under normal circumstances, no, you have to deal with the special conditions on the subdivided titles. Ultimately, you can get advice from a licensed advocate after they've seen your documents, so they can advise you more comprehensively. But my answer would be no. Okay, Explore Maya on TikTok. What's the best investment for a new public servant age 26? Investment in land, or should I approach circles? Well, excuse me. Explore Maya, I think it depends. How much capital do you have available? If you can do it on your own, do it on your own. Um, if you don't have enough and you need to leverage the savings you have with a SACCO, I know most SACCOs will let you borrow multiple times your savings. Do it. I mean, it just depends on what your financial situation is. Um, I, for one, prefer to deal with things myself as opposed to being, put in a basket as a group of people, because I have a lot more control over the process. If you're going to do it as part of a SACCO, there's certain things that are not in your control. And I don't like that. I like to mitigate as many points of risk as possible. So, to the extent that you can do it on your own, explore Maya, do it regardless of your age. 26 is a great age to start, by the way. I wish I started at your age. I started at almost, wow, how old was I? I was 33 when I started. So, time is your best friend. Uh, it's your strongest superpower. Use it now. Don't wait. Bust a move now with what you can on your own if it's enough to do something. If it's not, absolutely 100% leverage it through a SACCO. Get 2, 3, 4, 5x. I've heard of SACCOs who do almost 10 times your savings, depending on the quantum. Do it and bust a move now, because today is the cheapest that land or property in general will be. So you want to take advantage of the opportunities now, and that would be my best advice for you. Thank you for that question. Nasip, how do you pronounce her name? Nasip Wandikezia. Nasipondi. Okay. Nasipondi Kezia, I'm guessing, on Instagram. Thank you for watching. I hope I pronounced your name right. Your question is it within the management of the SACCO to move boundaries in order to create a road, especially without prior consent? Okay, without having more details around the ownership structure of the land, it's difficult to say, Kezia. Um, yeah, if it's a management, like a home ownership management company, no, they can't move boundaries. Moving boundaries in Kenya is a serious issue. Before boundaries can be moved or changed, you need the participation and consent of land control boards, county surveyors, and Ministry of Lands registrars. Many instances, you need all of them there at the same time, including immediately affected neighbors, people whose properties are affected by the boundary situation. We're dealing with one right now in southern Kajiado. It's taken 10 months, 11 months now to sort out, because even getting those professionals, the authorities, to make time on their schedule, they're busy. I mean, the closest appointment we could get for this particular one, because essentially what happened is we're buying land from a family, sale agreement signed, we did the survey. Turned out on the ground there was way more land than their title deed said. So there was 17 extra acres on the ground than was stated on the title deed, which is a material error or material deviation for the general boundaries regime, because it's a freehold agricultural land. And so the authorities are required to come and confirm the boundary of that extra 17 acres and amend every document. The title deed, mutation forms have to be redone. We have to go to the land control board. It's hectic. So, for boundaries to be moved to create roads, would require the participation of all affected parties, especially those in the community. So, without having any more insight on exactly what the ownership structure of the compound is, Kezia, it would be difficult to say. So, you're saying you purchased as a group and each was to acquire 50 by 100. Okay, so the group is a circle, like a chama, I'm guessing. Again, who is a registered owner of the property? That's who has authority. Okay. Part three of your comment says, I asked and they claimed everyone had to get a slice for creation of a road within the Mata Sako estate. Okay. Um, wow. Yeah, that's a complex one, Kezia. Because it seems like many of you are going to be affected. You have to give up portions of your land. Doesn't that mean that your plots will be smaller than 50 by 100 because you're slicing off bits and pieces from everyone to make up enough space for a road? What that tells me is that whoever did the subdivision scheme did a poor job, because they should have accounted for roads before the lots were positioned and subdivided. Okay, so that, I believe, depending on what stage of title deed registration you're at or subdivision you're at, you will need the participation of county surveyor and the lands registrar and every affected property owner. My advice is seek the advice of an advocate that you guys trust as a group, just to manage the costs. Appoint one, and also appoint a licensed surveyor to advise you on the best way forward. Don't use the SACCO's surveyor. Have your own who can counter check what the SACCO's surveyor is doing and make sure that everything is done right, because any mistakes now will be painfully difficult to correct later and could put your ownership in jeopardy, especially if it's being done before title deeds have been registered. So that's my advice, Kezia. I wish you and your group all success. Feel free to reach out if you want to give us more color later, and we'll see if we can give you any more insights on that situation. Jitesh Vekaria. Okay, Jitesh says, what comprises of complete set of documents you need to have after buying a piece of land and having engaged a licensed advocate of the High Court? Do we have different types of sets of documents? Yes, Jitesh, depending on the type of title deed, there are different sets of documents. For instance, is your title deed certificate of lease versus freehold? The certain components of those documents are going to be different. They essentially share the same information, but they are legally referred to as different names. Okay. In your case, for certificate of lease, some of those documents that might be differently named if it was a freehold title would be the deed map and deed plan versus mutation form and registry index map and any other cadastral maps related to the property. They are different, okay? But by and large, everything else will be the same. And there's many, including the original title, its accompanying lease. So every certificate of lease or lease title has to have the title deed and its corresponding lease. They are two different documents. They kind of look the same like title deeds, but they are different. One actually says lease, always has to accompany the certificate or title or lease title. They go hand in hand. Any consents you would have had to requisition from the lands administrator, whether at county level or national government level, must be included. Um, but for a rough guide, because we did one primarily for freehold land, you can go to our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. I'll repeat that again. It should be scrolling below or beneath me, depending on what platform you're watching. www.grandacres.co.ke. Find the tab that says checklist, click on it, enter the one or two details it'll ask you for, and it'll send you for free to your email address our Grand Acres checklist, the 9 steps to buying land safely in Kenya. Um, you know, under completion, and also partially step number 7, we have listed everything that must be in your completions document list on your sale agreement. Okay, ideally that should have been done before you sign your sale agreement. Difficult to demand them now since if they were not on the sale agreement beforehand, but you should at least know what to look out for. And your licensed advocate can guide you further on exactly what corresponding documents you will need for certificate of lease or lease title. Okay? And if you have any other questions about that, feel free to ping us directly. The number again is 07 0001 0001. That's 07 0001 0001. Awesome question. Okay, it's 6 minutes to 8. We can cover a few more questions, I believe. Steve 2010 on TikTok. What's up, Steve? If you're not Kenyan, can you buy an apartment? The answer is yes, Steve. As long as the accompanying title is lease, leasehold, absolutely. Foreigners can own and buy apartments in Kenya. In fact, very many of them do, particularly in Nairobi, where we're finding that we locals are being priced out of our own market, uh, especially in the apartment complex space, high end in particular. GTC is a good example. This massive development along Wayaki Way, on the corner of Wayaki and Chiromo, or it's Chiromo, right? Yeah, Chiromo. Um, most of the buyers are foreigners because they're certificates of lease, and those can be owned by both Kenyans and foreigners. So as long as it's a certificate of lease, yes. If it's not, no. And hopefully the apartment developer has processed the sectional titles, because after that law was passed by His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, former president of Kenya, every single apartment unit can now obtain its own separate title deed. You do not have to be listed as sub-leasees or on an original lease document. You can have your own title, and that would make your ownership a lot easier to manage. So there you go. Any other questions? YAA on TikTok. If I'm not a citizen, can I buy land any country where I am? Wow, that's a very wide-ranging question. YAA on TikTok? No, it depends on the laws of the country you're in. So find out what the laws of that country are as far as property ownership is concerned. And even there, make sure you consult an advocate to guide you appropriately so you don't make any costly mistakes. Okay? We have any other questions?
It's almost time.
All right, we have 3 minutes left. I think we can cover one more question. I have one. Lily Mukure on Instagram. How do you guys how do you guys take to respond for potential land sale? I guess you mean to ask how long do we take to respond for potential land sale? Well, ideally, Lily, it should be immediate. That's the goal. That's the idea. Are you looking to sell land or are you looking to buy land? Okay. If you're looking to sell us land, there's a different process we follow as opposed to when you're looking to buy. Um, if it helps, send a message directly to 07 0001 0001 on WhatsApp. Again, that's 07 0001 0001. And I promise you, we'll get someone to respond as quickly as possible. I see another question here on TikTok. Can one change the name under the title deed or the stamp with the name is good enough? Stamp with the name. I'm not sure what you mean, Saba 7. Yes, names can be changed on a title deed. It's called a name change or change of particulars on a title deed. Depending on the type of title, very specific process you must follow. Get a licensed advocate to help you. Don't try and do it on your own. Easy to screw up in that regard. So get it done right. I'm not sure what you mean by stamp with the name. Maybe you can provide us more detail. Be happy to clarify. Shakez Moho, or is it Shakes? How would you say that name? Is it Shakes or Shakez?
I would say shakes.
Shakes Moho. What's up, Shakes Moho? You're tuning in from Facebook, I can see. How come you can have a land, but upon search, it's not available in the government's database? Wow. Yeah, it happens, sadly, from time to time. It basically means that you might have bought thin air, or the documents on the back end at the registry are not accurate, or in the worst of cases, they are lost, or something was done unprocedurally in the process of creating that piece of land, whether it was subdivided from a larger piece of land, whether it was amalgamated, maybe whoever did that job didn't complete the process internally, so therefore there's no corresponding documents on the back end. But that's a big concern. Not available. That means there's not even a green card, because when you do a search, the registry looks at the green card to tell you what is on it as at now, the latest entry on the green card. So if you don't even have a green card, that's a serious one. I strongly recommend Shakes Moho. Please talk to your lawyer. If you don't have one, find one quickly, a licensed advocate, one who specializes in conveyancing law, and have them look into that for you so that they can prescribe the best way forward for you. Yeah, I hope that helps. Jitesh Vekaria, question number 3. How do we frank our sale agreement with the Ministry of Land? Okay, you take that to Ardi House. You will pay a small stamp duty. I think it's about 140 shillings. It's gone up periodically over the years. We used to pay 40 shillings at some point. The last one I saw, I think, was 140 shillings. You pay the fee, and the individual at the Ministry of Lands office, at the house in particular, will frank it. Franking is the formal term for when they stamp it. It's a red stamp. I wish I don't have a document here with me to show you, but happy to share that detail with you, Jitesh, offline if you like. Reach out to us on WhatsApp. But it's a fairly simple process. It's easier if you get an advocate to do it for you. They won't charge you much, maybe the clerk's fee to go to RD House with the document. It has to be an original sale agreement, okay? Um, Preferably, you should send two original copies as opposed to just one. I do know that they prefer to have at least two for them to be franked, because what they're doing is they're saying that this is an authentic existing document agreement between such and such and whoever, and in the event that it's admitted in court as evidence, it is trustable as real evidence by the court. Okay? Because it has been corroborated to be an original, because hopefully there was a counter copy. This is why I always tell people it's actually a requirement in most cases. But when you do a sale agreement, have it signed at least in triplicate. 3 original copies have to be signed and commissioned. You keep one, the other party keeps one, and maybe the lawyers keep one, so that you have counter copies. You have all of them franked, and you keep your share or your copy, the other parties keep their copy for record, and it is foolproof documentation rather, that your document is authentic, it's real, and can be admitted in a court of law as trustable evidence of a transaction. Okay, so if you want to do it on your own, well and good. You can go to RV House, and they'll direct you there. Just tell them you want to get a document franked or stamped. Most people use the word stamped, but the technical word is franking, and you can have it done. It takes a few days. It's not something you do while you wait. You'd have to surrender the documents, pay the fee, have the accompanying receipts, whatever, and you collect them a couple of days later, 3 days. Sometimes it takes longer, depends on what's happening at the registry, but that's how you get the document franked. I hope that helps, Jitesh, and I wish you all the best with your pursuit of your title document for your investment. Awesome. It's now 8:05. Forgive for going over. Just wanted to make up for the lost time since we started about 2 or 3 minutes late. I thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for making time to share your questions, have these convos. I hope you've learned something. I hope you've been edified. If you have any other pressing questions, feel free to reach out to us through our platforms. WhatsApp number 0700010001, and our website as well. You can email us, and we'll be happy to engage. Like, share, subscribe, send the link to someone you like, love, and respect. And I look forward to seeing you all or hearing from you all on Tuesday next week, as always. Grande acres to you all. Cheers.